see. Hello, can you hear me all right? Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you. Well, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm going to blast your ears out here. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? How's that? Is that better? Okay. Well, we made it through another week. Here we are. We all made it back. And in some circles, they believe in the reincarnation, so they say, good to see you again. It is good to see you again. Once again, my name is Jeff, and I'm glad to be here. It's my privilege and my honor to speak to the theme of the month, the power and ability of order and being a path to peace. That's very interesting. There are many paths to the mountain, and there are many paths to peace. But according to Charles Fillmore, there really is only just one true path. Let me quote him from him. And he says this about order from the revealing word. The divine idea of order is the idea of adjustment. And as this is established in our thoughts, our mind and affairs will be at one with the universal harmony. Charles always liked to speak in these kind of more elaborated kind of vocabulary in terms of being a metaphysician. It's interesting when he talks about rituals and rites and how the Jews of the day of Jesus' time, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they were so encumbered by Mosaic code and Mosaic laws, and the idea of keep the Sabbath and keep it holy. So they even went so far as to make rules and regulations about what you could or could do on Sabbath. And even some of these things were punishable by death. Pretty severe. But Jesus came along. He was quite the iconoclast. He said, no. The Sabbath was not made for man. Man was made for the Sabbath. In other words, he was saying that Charles says in the 12 Powers of Man, you look around and the trees, the plants, the birds, the animals, they don't rest on the Sabbath. They continue to do what they do by natural instinct. Well, how are we any different in terms of life on this planet? We don't, Charles says, look around. You don't see them, taking the Sabbath off. They continue on. So why do we do that? It's a made-up principle. It's something like you hear the saying, rules are made to be broken. Well, these rules that the priests and the Sadducees have made concerning Mosaic law were so severe that it constricted, it impeded really their connection to really connecting with the divine. Now, in Unity, we work with the 12 powers, abilities, and each power and ability is a composite building block in terms of us achieving a regeneration of our true selves, which is our Christ self, the Christ in each and every one. I like to bring my backup authority. One of the initial tenet pieces of literature in the Unity Library is Emily Cady's Lessons in Truth. I don't know if you had a chance to read this, but it's really lays down basically the foundation of what we think of the divine in us in unity, and while we're all tied together as one. I like to quote just what she says at the beginning of this book, Lessons in Truth. And she says this: this does not mean that God is a stern autocrat who by reason of supreme power compels man to bow before him. It is rather an expression of the order of divine law, the law of all love, all good. Man, who is who is at first living in the selfish animal part of himself, will grow up through various stages and by various processes to the divine or spiritual understanding, wherein he knows that he is one with the Father or source, as we say today, and wherein he is free from all suffering because he has conscious dominion over all things. Somewhere on his journey, the human consciousness or intellect comes to a place where it gladly bows to its spiritual self and confesses that this spiritual self, its Christ, is the highest and is Lord. Here and forever after, not with a sense of bondage, but with joyful freedom, the heart cries out, "The Lord is King." And that's from the book of Psalms, chapter 93, verse 1. Everyone must sooner or later come to this point of experience. So what's she saying? We go along on our journey, a spiritual path, and we have all these distractions that happen to us. When we start out initially coming into this world, we are pure spirit. We are innocent. We are open. I heard the saying that one way that God wants to prove that He exists is through children. You know, you can see that purity in the child's eye, the newborn eye. And then it's life that kind of starts to wrap itself around us, and we get distracted and we lose that point of principle about who we are, our divine nature, and how we are connected to Source, to Mother, Father, God. We are all one in that sense. So Emily Cady, she kind of opens the door to this idea of the Christ within. We all have this divine inheritance, and that's the Christ nature within us all. Charles' second wife, Cora, co-wrote, or not co-wrote, but she added to Charles' first book of the 12 Powers of Man by a book called Christ Enthroned in Man. And she has some nice succinct things to say about divine order. And she says this. Before I read this, though, I was always fascinated by Charles Fillmore's concept of consciousness, and says what we're doing as students of unity is that we are in the process of spiritualizing our consciousness. It's one thing to wake up in the morning and, oh, there's the sun. It's another thing to wake up in the morning and see the sun and be thankful and grateful. Another day, and have this severance, this idea of a reverence, and everything is sacred. And so we have that really attitude of gratitude. You know, our consciousness is spiritualized. We're put into a higher threshold of consciousness because of that. And I always like that it's kind of a really where the rubber hits the road kind of term, spiritualization. It's like infusing, you know, giving yourself a flu shot or something just to, you know, ward against the bulk of the world or whatever it is that troubles you or distracts you. Spiritualization of consciousness. And so Cora Fillmore says this: our spiritual realizations blend in the subconsciousness and work to eliminate the weak and the negative. A wonderful law of order is at work there. There is a yoking and a pulling together of spiritual powers to the end that both soul and body may be lifted up to the divine standard. And that's our basic Christ consciousness within us. And I like that. So it seems like it's innate, this power of divine order as a path to peace. You know, we hear this saying, if you want peace, be peace. You know, you have to learn, we're all learning how to make friends with ourselves, to be at peace with ourselves. You know, to just kind of say, hey, you know, get rid of the monkey mind, the negative self-talk, and look towards the positive aspects of our divine nature, which does in its application raises us up. It uplifts us, and we become inspired. What's that? Inspiration. We are in spirit. It raises us up. There's a great, wonderful, transcendent quality about that we can look back and say, "Ooh, I'm glad I don't do that anymore." Or, "Geez, what was I thinking?" Or, it's an incredible model I put in my head about the time-space continuum of my time here on this planet. Year after year, month after month, week after week, day after day, hour after hour, minute by minute, second by second, moment by moment. Well, where do we, it's like, okay, well, it's all expansive this way, but also it all comes back home. We're bringing it all back home, like Bob Dylan said. You're all bringing it back home because where else are you going to go? Right? We have to live our lives the best way we know how. And that's why we come here to Unity to remember that. We are brothers and sisters in our Christ nature. Now, moving forward in a more contemporary sense, from the classics with the kind of archaic language that they use, the old English I and A and all that stuff. There was an interesting thing I came across on the internet in terms of a welcome about the Unity focus on order. And the summation is, to the worldly mind, order is a way of organizing our affairs. The spiritual perspective of order, however, is divine power established as creative design. Divine order is just as God is. Divine order is already established in all creation, yet it is within our mind that we become sensitive to the orderly creative process for bringing the invisible into form. Each seeming step of bringing new ideas and new solutions for sustainable living in our lives and on our planet are guided through insight into divine order. Charles Fillmore talks about divine mind, or the beginning. It's a process. It's an evolutionary process. We get a seed of an idea. We get involved in our thought, which turns into the mind process. And through our mental processes, we learn to discern what is up or down, good or bad. It's kind of like the Taoism of our mind, which we move forward, onward, and upward into manifestation. The idea, from the creative idea and the inspiration in spirit, becomes action, because it can only stay within us for so long until it has to manifest itself, either good or bad. And hopefully we're on a path to peace that manifests. So if I want to see peace, I have to be peace. That's my path. And if I can be an example of peacemaking to other people, so be it. That's great. That's what we're here for, to radiate that light of truth, the Christ truth of us, that we're all related and we are all one. It's interesting, in in an old paradigm, heard the story about these religious leaders winding up at the gates of hell. And Satan's there, devil's there checking people in and out. And so this rabbi comes up to the gate. The devil says, "Okay, Rabbi, what are you here for?" He says, "Well, I was absconding the funds from my temple, and so I'd get in there." So, and I'm not picking out any particular dominion, but our denomination, thank you. But this Baptist preacher comes up to the gate. The devil goes, "Okay, what did you do?" It says, "Well, I had numerous affairs with my congregants, and get in there." Then a lunatic comes up to the gate. The devil says, "What are you doing here?" And the unitic says, I'm not here, right? Isn't that the truth? We create our thoughts and beliefs and how we feel about our experiences. And the only way we have our experiences are to live our lives the best way that we know how. So I go back to that time-space continuum year by year, month by day, because even within that expansive amount of time and down to the moment, we have the free will to make those choices for ourselves. They're going to reach out and accept and use these choice-making skills that we have for our highest good. Now, our highest good is a very highly debatable question. What is one person's good is another person's poison, perhaps. You hear about that. So it can be very, very, very subjective. The thing that unifies it all is the fact that we honor and we recognize the namaste, the spirit within us all. We can see that spark of flame of our divinity. And world traditions worldwide, it's a different path to the mountain. From the Hindu, from the Islamists to the fundamental, Christian, to, whatever it is. They all have some sort of system to get there. But ultimately, and this is what I think we believe in unity, is that to get there is you have to get rid of all of that stuff and just meditate, pray, and come in contact with the divine within. Even Jesus, our way shower, said, the kingdom of heaven lies within. Close your eyes and you come into the presence of your spirit self. We all know how it is. And what's the saying? Be still and know that I am God. If we quiet our minds and just sit back and abide, that inner divine voice speaks to us. I know it speaks to me. I'm not crazy. I'm not hearing voices in my head. All I do is sometimes when my mind is empty, I feel somebody tapping on my shoulder in a metaphysical sense. What would I do here? You see bumper stickers, what would Jesus do? The one I got on my cargo trailer says, what would Buddha do? It's it's a matter of choice making, no matter what the cultural context is. It forms, in good choice making forms for a better society, for a better world. No matter what the civilization is, they have better, say, mores or standards of, conduct between members of that society. It makes for a better society. Well, we live in a country where, fortunately, we have the ability to make that choice and make a difference in terms of how we apply spiritual truth to our daily lives. That's basically what we're doing here at Unity, is learning how to apply these spiritual principles, these metaphysical ideas and concepts into our daily lives. These, some 12-step programs say, I practice these principles in all my affairs. Well, that's what we do. We learn these principles and we go forward. And as I say, as we're lamps of light, sometimes the lens gets dirty with soot. So we have to clean those lenses, and so that our light can radiate better. And that's why we go through a process of up and down, in and out, good and bad. It's the Taoism. It's the idea of duality. We don't know joy unless we know sorrow, and vice versa. And that comes through our living experience. But even that is a form of order. It's like what Emily Cady says in another part of her Lessons in Truth about spiritual truth, how it's immutable. It's like you cannot change the angles of a triangle. It is just a mathematical law. It is what it is. That's a Jerry Seinfeld saying, it is what it is. But it is what it is. You can't change that. That's what it is. It's a triangle is three-sided and it'll always be that way. 2 + 2 is not 6. 2 + 2 is, of course, 4. And so these are certain universal laws. Well, the same thing applies to our spiritual laws that we have. And divine order is definitely a part of that structure within us to help us achieve more Christ consciousness. And it's not just once you're there, once you never arrive. It's not a static kind of a thing. We're always on a daily basis, uh, constantly sidetracked and distracted by the affairs of the day. So the better equipped we are with the spiritual tools to make those discernments, those judgments about what is best for our highest good is important. Jesus said, be in the world, but not of the world. Because ultimately we all are spirit. You know, I got this human space suit and it's got a certain expiration date on it. I don't know what it is, but when it's time to check out, well, I'll be ready, say, okay, I'll just say to my, the higher self, my divine source, what's next? Or I'll be saying, good to see you again, you know? And that's just the kind of a truth that I live with. And it's kind of like a lifesaver in the sea of tumult, and the Spirit of Christ calms the storm and lets the winds subside. He said, go to your closet, close the door, pray, meditate, become one with your own spiritual Christ self. You know how it is, you know how it feels, you know when it's there, and you know when it's right. And conversely speaking, you know when it's wrong. We have that ability to discern between what is not good for our highest good and what is good for our highest good. I've been reading Linda Martella Winslet's book, Divine Audacity. It's very good. She's really contemporized the 12 powers. And she breaks down the power of order into three topics, or three categorizations: organization, adjustment, and evolution. So in organization, we have a feeling we need to change something. We need, it starts out small in our minds. I've got to do this, or I keep putting it off, or what it is. Whatever excuses we use to not take action until finally we have to make that adjustment to take action. And we find the time to do those things that we need to do. And then once that is accomplished, we evolve forward, onward and upward, as they say. You know how you feel when you've been putting something off and finally you said, that's it, I can't do this anymore, I gotta change, I gotta take action. So you take action, and after you do it, you say, why didn't I do this sooner? Now I feel free, I feel unburdened. I can move forward and onward and upward. I can evolve to better things now. But it's just not that one thing. It's always everything. Always everything in our daily lives. It's a matter of balance. I like the analogy, the Buddhist analogy of walking the middle lane, the middle path, the left and the right. You try to keep that balance. Because in all things, you're always going to have this dynamic of change and adjustment. So what do? I got to keep my balance as I go through, I like to call it the time-space continuum. And also I like the analogy of the stepping stones. You heard Lao Tzu talk about, or maybe it was Confucius, that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Well, the idea of the stepping stone along our spiritual path is that you take that first step, you look around, there's this, there's that, there's this. You take the next stepping stone, you look around, and over so many stepping stones through the time-space continuum, the perspective changes. All of a sudden, things are further away and other things are closer. The things that I thought were so important when I was 20 years old and I was willing to sacrifice my life for are now like, what? My choices and my priorities have definitely changed as I wade into the waters of my seasoned years, as I like to say. But it's true. We all change according to our place in the time-space, or in our spiritual journey, our place in the time-space continuum, and how our perspectives change over time. It's just a natural, organic process. It's like, I'll never find Ponce de Leon's Fountain of Youth or the city of El Dorado of gold. These are things that are beyond my reach. But what can I reach? What I can reach for are those things that are tangible truths within me that keep me moving forward. As I say, they serve as a lifesaver in a torrent sea. They keep me and help me maintain my path to peace. Hint, hint, topic, theme, tying it all together. So the ability of divine order is an integral part of our total makeup of, as Charles Fillmore says, the regeneration of man. And he speaks of the general man, mankind, humankind. We all have the ability to change and change for the better, to regenerate. Even if you look at our bodies and our minds, it has the tremendous capacity to heal itself if we just let it. How many times have you heard a doctor say, he's perfectly fine, he just has to get the will to live? That is a good part of healing, is having the right mental attitude and or spiritual connection to your healing. It makes all the difference. But we have that capacity to do that, and that is powerful. I mean, we are more powerful than we actually are aware of. Someone said there's more to us than we'll ever know. That's why when I shut off this spacesuit and I'm ready for the next step, I'll say, hey, good to see you again, whatever it is, dimension, whatever it is, another galaxy, behind the moon, whatever crazy theory you can think of. We have a reason and a purpose while we're born into this world. We grow and develop our consciousness, and at a certain point, our consciousness says, okay, you're full, time to go. It's a matter of willingness to go or resistance to go. Now, I'm not saying I want to, make my transition anytime soon, but and I know I don't want to do it by my own hand, of course, which happens sadly, tragically, to a lot of people. But at least I feel I'm working towards having the ability to laugh at the face of death, knowing that just another door, because the Christ within me is well seated. I have that abiding strength of faith, the Christ nature within me, and hopefully within everyone I come encounter with, because I know that to be a living truth. I'm going to conclude with a little meditation now. So, find a place where you're comfortable, where you're sitting, and we'll say a little prayer meditation. I'm going to be quoting from Divine Audacity, Linda Martell's Winslet's Meditation on Divine Order. Let's start by taking 3 deep breaths. Come into the presence of a living, creative creator who wants nothing more for us than to be happy, to be joyful, to be whole, to be healthy, to be wise, to be loving, compassionate. We are the children of God. The final place within you, supportive of this meditation, and I focus my attention on the splendid order in my body temple, bone, muscle, skin, vortexes of nerves and energy, all organized for physical vitality and strength. Breathe flowing in and out effortlessly. Heart beating rhythmically, steadily faithful. I celebrate divine order. Concentrating my attention with my body behind my navel, I activate my body's center for order. I shine the verdant green light of order around my digestive organs and throughout my integrated, linked, and well-ordered system in my body. Order is my name and my nature. I am the power of order, by which I connect with my innate sense of direction. I naturally attune to the magnificent source, the one mind from which all ideas flow. I catch divine ideas and bring them into manifestation by the power of order. I am adjusting the power of order, easily sensing where to place my attention, adjust my mindset, or correct my course of action. I am the evolving power of order, awakened to my ever unfolding consciousness. I incorporate the best of my past into my present and reach naturally toward a fuller and more enlightened future. By the power of order, I follow the clear path. I go through the open door. I choose an orderly course of thought and action. I bring about order moment by moment, choice by choice. And so let us abide in this moment of peace, serenity, and a knowing that we are forever loved, comforted, and served by a loving God. We are truly thankful for this day, the days that have passed, and the days to come. Let us go forward with a more committed effort to strengthen and reveal in us our divine inheritance, the living Christ within us. So let that be. So it was, so it is, and so it shall be forever and ever. Thank you, Mother, Father, God. Bringing you back to this temple of worship, this sanctuary of respite and refuge from the world's travails. And we hope that you walk out these doors uplifted, maybe even perhaps transformed for some. We wish you the best and hope for a brighter tomorrow, and always in the loving presence of a loving God. Thanks for listening. Now we're going to say our prayer of protection, which is right there. And We can all stand for this, please. And together, the light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever the presence, wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one. Let us form our circle of peace.